Hello, I'm Jamshidian. I'm a professor of mathematics and statistics at Cal State Fullerton. I'm going to be giving you a few tips for doing well in your courses. There are three main steps that I will share with you. One is preparing before class, another is being attentive during the class, and then what you need to do after your lecture. So let's talk about preparation before class. So I recommend that you review your previous lecture class notes and prepare any questions that you might have and any of the concepts that you haven't understood. Then another thing that you should do, perhaps glance through your book or the notes that your instructors gives you to learn what is the topic of the day's lecture, and also get familiar with any new notation, if there are any, and also skim through the material. This doesn't have to take a long time, maybe even spending about 15 minutes before class to look at the material and see some notations, some terminology, etc. That would be sufficient. What I tell my students is to be attentive during the class. It is not enough to attend class. So what do I mean by that? Ask questions about the topics from the previous lecture, if you have any. Focus on the lecture and don't get distracted by phone, etc. And I specifically want to point out that sometimes instructors emphasize certain aspects during their lecture, especially pay attention to those. Again, ask questions, ask questions. There is no such a thing as a dumb question. If you're doing group work, lead your group, or at least if you are not going to be leading your group, make sure to actively participate in the group work. Now, the most important part is the time that you spend after class. So in our college, we have a rule that for every unit, you need to spend about 3 hours per week outside of the classroom. So for example, if you have a 3-unit class, plan to spend about 9 hours outside of the classroom for that class. And that is, of course, an average, and it varies from one student to another. But then what would you do during those times? Well, you would review your notes and annotate the parts that you need help with. Remember, I told you need to ask questions at the beginning of the class. So you just make sure to ask any question that you have about your notes in the next lecture. One thing that I would like to emphasize is always make sure to understand the basics before attempting to learn more complicated concepts. For example, I teach statistics, and there is a simple concept of population versus a sample. And this basic concept, if students get that concept, they can really learn more complicated concepts in statistics. Often, like 3 weeks into the course, I see students struggling with a problem, and that is because of lack of understanding of basic concepts. So for example, if you're taking a calculus class, maybe before going to your first calculus class, you need to really understand the basic concepts of, let's say, rate of change or average rate of change, etc. Go to your instructor's office hours and get clarification on what you don't understand. That is going to be very helpful in many cases. Do your homework. Don't look at the solution manual. Sometimes it might take you 15, 20, 30 minutes to solve a problem, but that struggle is the learning process that you go through. Use technology wisely, and by that I mean, yes, I know that there are lots of YouTube videos and so on, some of which could be useful, but don't spend too much time on those. Try to solve the problems on your own and try to think logically, especially when you're solving math problems, and solve your problems. And a final note is learning a new subject is like when you begin exercising when you're out of shape. It is painful at first, but after a while, it becomes very enjoyable. Thank you for your attention and happy learning.